Oh,
Now
good. Hi, this is Elizabeth Stein of Belly and Body Care, and today on the interview series of self-love, I have ICO with me, and ICO stands for Incredibly Caring Organism. So ICO, if you would like to say a little bit more about yourself, please.
Sure. First off, thank you so much, Elizabeth, for having me here. I'm honored to be speaking with you today, and thank you for listening to this podcast as well. For myself, I am about authentic self-expression, and I've been exploring and being in the realms of dating, sex, and attraction for over 18 years. And
What was
through
that?
that,
Dating?
dating, sex, and attraction.
Oh, dating, sex, and attraction. Awesome.
Yeah. So looking at and playing with the interdynamics of how people are and various forms of sexuality and sexual expression and how relationships can go and play out. I've been working in a lot of those different realms in the alternative lifestyles for over 18 years. Starting out with me just wanting to learn how to go and attract a partner for myself, and I had no idea how to go and do it. And I knew I was a really good student, so I picked up a book by David D'Angelo called "Double Your Dating," and that led me down the path of being able to discover a lot about myself and who it is that I am and how I have come to identify.
So would you say like your dating life has played a huge role in just like your self-love journey?
It has also coming to understand and accept who I am and what it is that my desires are. As I delved more into these realms and found that I was more inclined to actually be non-monogamous by my nature. And I also found a resonance with being in the kink realms
Mm.
early on, and finding that things actually flowed a lot better when I actually allowed myself to really just own what my desires were and who it is I am. And while that led to a number of relationships and some other people did have some upsets when I would go and share it with them, I found that there were people out there who would accept me exactly as I am and for who I was becoming to be, in me owning more of myself.
Gotcha. So just for people listening, because I know I've probably thrown a few listeners in the deep end, you are actually like a relationship, sexuality coach. Is that accurate?
Mm-hmm. Yes. One of the titles that I've been using since last year is a wandering love mystic.
That's great.
So one of the main premises that I teach from my company, Enlightened Consent, is the premise that as long as the people that are directly involved are consenting and they're honoring their existing relationship agreements, it doesn't matter what anyone else thinks or feels about what you're choosing to do.
Hmm. Hmm. All right. I love it. So I'm going to backtrack again because normally when I start these interviews, I ask the question, and I feel like this is still really important to ask, is what does self-love mean to you?
Beautiful question. Self-love to me means that I get to make myself and my relationship with me a top priority in my life. One of the things that I have come to understand and also experience is I am the only person that is guaranteed to be with me for my entire lifetime, regardless of any promises I've made to others or any intentions that others have given to me, including having gone through marriage and a divorce, that I'm the one who's going to be with me, and my relationship with myself gets to be a priority. And I'm also allowed to have healthy boundaries. These are boundaries that are for me, nothing against you, so I can be in right relationship with myself.
Mm. How would you define boundaries then?
Hmm. Well, I would define boundaries as a limit and something that is like, instead of judging the thing as being bad or wrong, saying that this is not okay or not right for me to be around, for me to go and experience. Like, a boundary for me is, if I'm looking at someone as a potential long-term partner, it's important that they don't smoke cigarettes.
Mm.
It's not that I'm judging cigarette smokers as being like bad or wrong or worse than I am. It's just that I don't want to be around that. And for the long-term health of both my partners and the kind of lifestyle I want to have with my partners, it's incompatible. So
Mm.
for those who are smokers, it would be like, I can go and love and accept you that you are a smoker. This is part of who you are. You're not bad or wrong for being a smoker. And I'm not going to consider you as a potential long-term dating partner for me,
Mm.
because that is what I need to be in a right relationship with myself. It's a boundary
Mm.
that's for me and nothing against them. Does that make
Mm.
sense?
Absolutely. Thank you. And then have you always had self-love?
No,
No.
no. I had like no self-esteem growing up, and I was literally cut off from my own emotions, living just up in my head intellectually from the age of 7 to 21.
Oh.
Um, and I didn't even realize how disconnected I was until I had a friend of mine point out to me that I was disconnected from my emotions. And
Mm.
he invited me to a personal growth program. And I trusted him enough to go through that process. And I'm very grateful that I did, which helped me to actually reconnect with my emotions. And then I spent most of my 20s learning how to just feel my own feelings and how to express those feelings for the first time in my adult life. And that was a large learning curve in itself. And through that, that started a whole series of delving into a lot of personal growth work, a lot of personal development work, and it also led me to discover and go down the rabbit hole of love and relationships and be like, who am I? What is it that what is it that I relate to? And since emotions and this whole feeling around were so different to me, of part of the reason why I delved so much into love, intimacy, and relationships.
Got it. So it's almost correct me if this isn't accurate, but it's almost like that evolution for you of coming to this place of self-love, and then discovering your sexuality and who you are, in terms of how you want to relate and be with others. It sounds like they kind of uh, evolved, so to speak.
It very much did co-evolve, and one of the things that I've discovered, both for myself and for others, is that I can only love someone else to the level and depth that I love and accept myself first. And I can only feel loved and accepted by someone else to the level and depth that I love and accept myself first. Otherwise, they may be lavishing me with more love and affection and connection than what I'm capable of taking in. And it's kind
Mm.
of like pouring tea into an already full teacup. I don't feel any more loved or accepted until I grow my own self-love and my own acceptance. And it's been a journey and a path that I'm still working on. And I'm going to be turning 40 later this year at the end of August.
Mm.
And it was in like March of this year that I actually came to the realization that while there are parts of me that I loved and embraced, and that I've come to a place of really accepting and being okay with myself, that there was still more work to do, that there was still more levels of being able to love myself and actually embrace myself fully. And
Mhm.
so I'm actually in a year-long program with this awesome guy named Jonathan Trowan with his Self-Love Revolution program.
Would you mind sharing that with me after the interview so I can share that with people listening later?
Sure. And for the cis males that are out there, I also would highly recommend another program that I went through earlier this year called Sexual Self-Mastery by Dustin Garrick.
Okay, and just to help our listeners, what is a cis male again?
Oh, okay. So cis male just means that you identify as the male that you were assigned at birth. So, when we're
Hmm.
born, you come out of the womb and the doctor says it's a boy, it's a girl. Usually based on the genitalia that you go and have that the doctor sees. So those who grow up and being like, yeah, this feels congruent with my body, they are considered to be cis, meaning the same. Where on the other hand, like someone who may have been born with male genitalia, though identifies and feels that they're actually more feminine on the inside, is considered trans. So there's transgender is like being like the opposite gender compared to what you were assigned at birth.
I
Does that help?
really, I really appreciate that because I'm sure I'm not the only one, but I never understood why it was called cis because it was used as such an insult for my generation. I'm probably dating myself, but they would call guys sissies, and I'm like, why are you calling that a cis man? But okay, I got
Okay,
it.
sissy is different as a racial slur against feminine type male-bodied people. Cis, CIS, is a scientific term.
I got it. That makes so much sense. I really, like I said, my world is just gone. Okay, thank you.
Yes. So
Um,
it's an important distinction. Cis, CIS, completely different than sissy,
yes, that's the first.
SISSY.
Yeah, it's the first time that's been explained to me. So thank you for that.
Welcome. Happy to educate. Part of why I'm here.
So back to the topic of self-love. So you started out with like a very small cup to be able to contain that, or maybe even no cup. So what did you do to like grow like your cup to be able to receive?
Mm. I'm looking to go and see what are some of the most impactful things
Mm.
over the 18 years. I would say one of the things was being able to parse out and really allow myself to explore what it is that I wanted and I desired and I needed for myself. And we're all programmed by what we see in our family, in our religion, in our neighborhood, in our schools, etc. Like, the marketing that is shown to us on TV and over the internet of how we should live our life, how the kind of way that we should go and be, and being able to actually delve into what is it that I actually want? What do I need, regardless of how others say this is what I should be, or this is how I should identify, or this, that, like really delving into this is who I am, this is what I desire. And for me, part of what that looked like is actually going into an exploration of what else is possible outside of the cultural norms.
Hmm. Thank you. And a question was arising as I was listening to you speak. Like, how important would you say your social network, like during this time of growth and exploration, like your social networks and the people that you surrounded yourself with? Because I mean, I've been through self worthy and love issues. Like, I know how vulnerable you can be to like negative or even positive input. So what would you say to that?
Having at least one person in your life that is supportive of your exploration and who it is that you are and who you declare yourself to be can make all the difference. And I would say is quite critical in this whole evolution. Because early on in my self growth, I had struggled making friends most of my life, and when I started my personal growth work, I literally had one of the few friends that I'd made to that point come to me and say, I want you to stop what you're doing. I feel like I'm losing my friend.
Oh,
And that was heartbreaking to me. And I had a mentor, the one who had actually introduced me to that first personal growth program. And I went to him, tears in my eyes, saying, my friend is saying that he feels like he's losing me. What do I do? And he looked at me and said, as you grow, there are people that are going to become uncomfortable in seeing you grow, because it's going to remind them how they're not growing and
mm,
the places where they are stuck. And it's easier for them to try to get you to stop doing what you're doing rather than them actually being supportive of you continuing on your growth. And there will be some people that go and fall away, and that's okay, because eventually there will be new people who come into your life who only know you in that new way of being, and they will love you and they will accept you just as you are then for who you have become. And that is the only way that they will ever have known you. And that was very comforting to me, and I have found that to actually be true.
same. Yeah, I'm really glad you shared that because yeah, there will be people that will be uncomfortable watching you grow, that will probably try to hold you back. So thank you for sharing that.
Okay.
Um, how would you say, like, what are some of the biggest notable differences in your life since you're in a place of much better self-love?
One of the things that I will say that I've noticed is that when I'm in a greater amount of self love, I care more about how my environment is around me and also my personal hygiene.
Mm,
Growing up, I didn't really care much about how my room looked. I didn't really, I was pretty poor with my personal self hygiene because it frankly didn't really seem to go and matter. I didn't really care. I didn't matter to me. I felt that I had this story that no one would actually notice if I was there or not, so it didn't make a difference.
mm,
And the more that I grew my own self love, the more that I grew my self care, I found that I actually cared more about me actually feeling good, my body feeling clean, um, my environment being more organized. And
mm,
I actually took more responsibility for how my environment in my life was around me.
mm. Thank you. Thank you for that vulnerable share. Um, and I'm wondering if you, because I love asking this one, if there are any self-love exercises or tips you would like to share and leave the listeners with?
Something that I have found very valuable to do myself, and I've had many of my clients do, is to practice going up to a mirror, looking yourself straight in the eyes, and say, "I love you and I accept you just as you are right now,"
Mm,
and take a moment to breathe that in.
mm,
And I have seen wonders of women that I've worked with who told me that even though they use the mirror on a daily basis to like put on makeup, they would not look themselves in the eyes because they were afraid that they wouldn't like who they saw.
mm,
And through their process of actually working with me, getting to a point where they could literally go up to a mirror and say, I love you and I accept you just as you are right now, and believe themselves, so impactful.
Do your clients find that it takes a while kind of break down those barriers with themselves, or does it happen pretty quickly for most people?
Depends upon the person. There are a lot
Mm.
of things that can get in the way.
Mhm.
And one of the things that I delve more into is I hold my clients in unconditional love and acceptance for wherever they're at. And what I've discovered is that once a person has the visceral experience of actually just being accepted, of being okay just as they are, it then allows them to believe that they can actually be okay with them as they are. And the interesting thing is that the more they believe that and I'll speak for myself in my own experience, the more that I allowed myself to believe that I was okay as I was, the more it seemed that others around me became more comfortable around me, and the more that they found me to be acceptable.
Isn't that amazing how that works that way?
It is.
It's like never ceases to amaze me how like this inner world inside of us is like so reflected outside of us. It's
As
incredible.
within, so without. Yes.
Yeah. And you don't know it until you've gone through that journey. Like you can hear it, but until, I mean, I'm an experiential person. I think most people can at least relate to that on some degree. Yeah, it's just amazing.
And one of the things with that is the whole idea that there's some Eastern philosophies that you are me disguised as not me. I'm you disguised as not you. Whatever I either adore or can't stand in someone else is actually what I either adore or can't stand within me. So the more that I can go and delve into this self-love work and embracing this self-love and embracing who I am and everything that I am, the more that I am able to go and embrace and accept about other people as well.
It's so true. Just like yeah, the Buddha in me acknowledges the Buddha in you. The whole thing of namaste. Yeah.
Namaste.
I namaste. And just on wrapping it up, are there any just closing notes or thoughts that you'd love to leave the audience with?
Yes.
Mm.
Whatever desires and fantasies that you have, it is okay. Whoever you're attracted to, it is okay. However you identify, sexual orientation is okay. There's nothing bad, nothing wrong, nothing broken, nothing of any kind of abomination or twisted nature about you. You are whole, perfect, and complete just as you are. There are others like you that are out there, and you are loved just as you are. And you are lovable, and you are worthy simply because you exist. There's nothing that you have to do to earn that worthiness. There's nothing that you can do to lose that worthiness. You are worthy of love. You're worthy just because you exist.
How many people have needed to hear that? And how many times have you needed to hear that during your darkest times?
I've needed to hear it a lot.
Yeah.
And so this was done for me many years ago, and I found it very impactful, so I like to go and pass it on. By the power invested in me by no one in particular, I hereby declare you now and forevermore worthy.
Hallelujah.
Just in case you need to have that permission, I declare you worthy.
So beautiful. Eco, incredibly caring organism that you certainly live up to your name quite well. For those listening, I'm going to post your websites, you have two, your nonprofit, both your business page at the end of the bottom of this so people can find it, and then some of the resources you recommended for those exploring their sexuality. And I thank you so much for this time. It was just a real delight. So thank you.
You're very welcome. And for those of you who are listening who may not have access to that description, you can find me with my coaching at enlightenedconsent.net, and my for-profit or my nonprofit is enlightenedconsent.org.
That's lovely. Thank you. And I'm just going to hit the record. Stop.